Hey guys, welcome to week 19 of Core 52. We're walking through this each week to build our Bible IQ as we walk through 2020. And especially right now in everything that's going on in our world, it's just an awesome opportunity for us to be able to dive deeper into God's Word with fewer distractions in our daily life and just be able to process some of the things that the Lord wants us to know through what He left us in the Bible. And so this week we are here with Haley Carson. And we are processing the idea of deeper morality. And so, Haley, let's start with just this idea of what makes, from a worldly standpoint, what makes somebody a good person?
I think that people think good people do good things for others, donate to charities, help others in some kind of way, serve a bigger purpose on this earth.
Yeah, I think sometimes we tend to look at people when they are doing things that maybe we agree with or whatever, and we say, oh yeah, that's just a good person, or regardless of their religious affiliation, if they're just doing something for someone else or doing something selfless, anything like that, that may qualify them as a good person. But in Matthew 5, Jesus kind of gives us this idea of what morality is all about and kind of maybe challenge us to go deeper in our morality. And he uses this term righteousness instead of being good. And so what kind of gives us the difference between being a good person and a righteous person?
I think a righteous person really kind of goes back to that late 90s, early 2000s, what would Jesus do, with our little bracelets, and really thinks about what would Jesus do and how would he handle certain situations. Would he care more about the person who is, looking like they're doing the right thing or is doing the right thing without blasting it out to others?
Yeah, and I think he parallels this by talking about the law versus righteousness, like the rules versus the righteous, and that the law is based off of your actions. Like, so what you do, then you're following the law. But if you're wanting to be righteous, it's based off motives. It's about why you're doing what you're doing. And I think so many times we see somebody who's doing something and maybe they're doing it for a selfish reason. Well, that's not actually righteousness. That's actually them trying to obey the law or follow the rules. And Jesus said, hey, if you're going to have a deeper morality, then that comes with following righteousness instead of trying to follow the law. So Jesus brings up in Matthew 5 6 things that the author in Core 52 brings up that he challenges us in to not just look at it from a law standpoint, but to go a little deeper. And so those 6 things were anger, lust, divorce, oaths, retaliation, and then to love your enemies. Of those 6, which do you think is the hardest for us to maybe come to grips with, or to follow righteousness instead of the law?
Oh, definitely love your enemies, because that's really hard to do when someone has very much hurt you, to turn around and say, do you know what? You hurt me, but I'm still going to love you the way Jesus would. That's very hard to do.
Well, and especially now that we have so many people that we tend to go, oh, I just can't stand that person. We may not call them our enemies, but we just have maybe this distaste or disdain because of something that they did or whatever. And when Jesus says, hey, love your neighbors. Oh yeah, hey, I can do that. Like the people that I like, I can do that. But when it comes to loving your enemies, that becomes harder. Yeah. But that's part of this deeper morality, is it's not just based off of loving and connecting with people. That's easy, but sometimes it challenges you a little deeper. The memory verse for this week is Matthew 5:20, that talks about that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, who were like the perfect, follow the law to the letter of the law the whole time, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you'll never enter the kingdom of heaven. Yeah. And that kind of becomes this scary thought of, well, I'm never going to achieve that level of perfection. But Jesus didn't call us to perfection. He called us to pursue righteousness. So help us understand maybe what the difference between trying to be perfect and trying to be righteous.
Well, nobody could be perfect except for Jesus. Jesus was the only perfect person. But I think just making cautious decisions on the right thing to do. I could either hate the person that is my enemy, or I can show him Jesus' love. I could either stay angry about something or have a kind heart and a forgiving heart and move past that. And so definitely making cautious decisions to move past something that's bothering you or troubling you is being a more righteous person instead of a perfect person.
Yeah, I think what I love about this chapter is that our goal is not moral perfection. We don't reach this standard where we go, okay, I've got it all figured out. I've learned how to be a perfect person. But instead, Jesus challenges us to unconditional love. That's what the heart of the Father when it comes to morality. It's about your motives. It's about the reason why you're doing things. And if that we're really pursuing righteousness, it's less about trying to attain perfection. Hey, we're going to make mistakes. That's okay. But when we get deeper on our morality, it's because we've learned how to unconditionally love others in the midst of difficult times with our anger, with some of the marital problems that are out there, with lust, with the different oaths, maybe retaliation. Like that was one of the ones that was real hard for me of, somebody does this to me, well, that means I'm going to do this to them. And that wasn't our calling, was this an eye for an eye or tooth for a tooth, but instead to love others the way Jesus loved us. And so my encouragement to you guys this week is just to look for ways to not legalistically try to become a better person, a good person by your actions, but instead look at the motives. What are the reasons why you're doing what you're doing, and allow the Lord to take you deeper in your morality. Have a good week.